You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Past episodes of the Authentic Business Adventures program can be found on the podcast link at drawincustomers.com. We are coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kademan, entrepreneur, author, speaker, and helpful coach to small business owners across the country. Today, we're welcoming / preparing to learn from Howard Berg, the world's fastest reader. Howard, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to have you on the show here, and I'm excited because I love reading, and I don't know anyone who's like, I wish I could read slower. So I feel like this is going to be good.
Well, no one gets up saying, I hope I know less today than I knew yesterday.
Yeah, right. There's no such thing as too smart.
Yeah. I mean, I've never heard that. I hope I'm a total failure and I don't know anything. Those aren't usually things people hope for.
No, certainly not.
It happens, but not because they wanted.
Not intentionally. So maybe if they're not reading, right? So what's the story? How did you become the world's fastest reader?
Well, the short story is I read faster than everyone else, but that's not the answer you're looking for.
Sure. It just naturally happened. Tell me it's a talent you're born with. It'll be a short show.
Right. No, it was in that. Well, I had an innate ability, but what happened was first I grew up across the street from a museum, and I spent a lot of time there as a child, so I read a lot. And then, but when I moved to projects in Brooklyn, which were a very bad place to live, lots of gangs, very violent, I found the safest place in my neighborhood was the library. Gang kids would rather be. So I read a lot because it was the only activity where you wouldn't get jumped by a gang member.
All right.
And I had college reading by the time I was 11. As a result, you do something enough, you get good at it. And then I went to college at 17. I majored in biology. I went to the State University of New York, Binghamton, and I got interested in my junior year in the brain. So I told the dean I want to do two majors, biology and psychology. And he looked at me and said, "You're a second-term junior. You have one year left, and you haven't had any psych courses. You'll have to do a whole 4-year program in 1 year. It takes 18 credits in science, 2 terms in a row. And frankly, you're not smart enough. And on top of that, I had three part-time jobs. So I decided I was smart enough, and I did it. And as I was learning about the brain, I got my reading speed up to 80 pages a minute. So I did a 4-year program in 1 year. And then I took the graduate record exam in biology, and I got an 800, which is in the 99th percentile.
Wow.
And so I was in the upper 1% of biologists in the world for that year.
Sure.
And then I wondered, was it me or did I find a better way to do it? So I started a school. We took kids 11 to 15. We gave them a 30-chapter book in lifelong developmental psych, which is a sophomore college course. They were 11 to 15. They did it in 1 week using my system, and 15 out of 18 passed the CLEP, which is an AP test, and got full college credit on a sophomore course in a week. And I realized that it wasn't just that I could do it, but I could teach it. And that's what we'll be doing today. I'll be sharing some of the things I taught these young people with our audience so they could do it too.
That's super awesome. So did you end up intentionally starting a business, or is this just something that you felt, hey, I should teach the world how to do this a little bit? Like, which came first? I guess the desire to own a business, or this practicality where you said, I get this skill that I should share with the world kind of thing?
Actually, when I got out of college, I became a teacher in the inner city in New York. I worked in Bed-Stuy and I worked in Crown Heights, very, very violent schools. In fact, my first job interview was, teachers get killed here, do you want the job?
Wow.
I was 21, so I'm like, nailed it, you know.
Jeez.
I was a kid. I was like, yay, I got a job. In 10 years, 4 teachers went out on stretchers, 1 in a coma.
You're kidding.
Beat them unconscious. No, it was a very dangerous school. We had knife fights in my room, like in the movies.
Yeah.
It was like West Side Story without the dancing and music. We had gunshots in the hallway. I did that for 10 years. What finally got me disgusted, and it was an ongoing thing, I wanted to teach what I was teaching today to these kids because they had a 2% graduation rate.
2%.
Said it's not 2%, 98% failure rate.
Wow.
Yeah. So I said, let me show them how to learn. Won't get it to 100%, but 2%, I can beat that. And the principal said it's not in the curriculum. You can't teach it. So
Sure.
I'm teaching biology. One of my kids comes up. He says, I don't know how to do the homework. I can't find any of the answers. So every answer is in your book. He says, I don't know how to find it. So I'm showing him in his book, in his subject that I'm teaching, how to find the answers to the homework questions. And the principal comes in and says, what are you doing? Because he asked me to help him, show him how to do the homework questions in his book, which is the subject I'm teaching. He says, we don't pay you to do that. You're not doing your job. That's not in the curriculum. You're teaching learning, and we don't pay you to do that. So he wrote down I wasn't working because I was helping kids learn, and I quit. That was the final straw for me.
Wow.
I couldn't work in a system where these kids had no future, and I was trying to help them.
Yeah.
And you would think they would have appreciated what I was doing instead of threatening me. And
Sure.
I couldn't deal with that. And then I decided to start a business that I was going to use what I discovered to help make a better world. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Nice. So you've been doing this for how long now?
Over 30, 35 years. It's almost losing count. I know I started going into business when I was around 35, and I just hit 70. So I'm going to say about 35 years.
Wow. That's super cool. So when you...
I love it. I love doing it. Yeah.
You start teaching this, how do you get people to buy into the fact that they can actually learn to read quickly? Because I imagine you run into a little bit of roadblocks where people are like, nah, that's smoke and mirrors. I don't believe it.
That's a good question. Well, first we did a double-blind efficacy study. We used the Nelson-Denny. That's a standardized test for speed and comprehension. And we did a split test, 100 people. 50 random people did the A and then the B, and 50 random people did the B and then the A. To make sure the second test wasn't simpler, so it made them look smarter. And we did an analysis of variance, which is a statistical way of seeing if there was a difference between the two groups. And both groups doubled or quadrupled, most doubled, in 4 hours with no loss of comprehension. And it didn't matter whether they did A and B or B and A. And so I can actually show them. It was done as a double-blind experiment. I wasn't even allowed in the city where it was done. It was done with the recordings. And so we were able to demonstrate it. A normal person using what I taught would go 100 to 400% faster with outstanding comprehension using a recognized standardized test for testing that level of speed and comprehension. And so I can honestly say we do know how fast people can go. Now, most people go about 100%, and then with practice, you usually get better at anything, and I've seen people improve. But I can honestly say from the statistics and the analysis that it's logical to expect to at least double to quadruple, most double.
Wow. That is super cool. Now, I got a question for you because I read a fair amount. And I would safely say that I probably read slow compared to what we're addressing here. There's a relaxation that comes with reading sometimes. You read before bed, something like that. And typically the books that I'm reading are nonfiction. And so they're a little deeper. Or most of them, I guess, I would hope that they're deeper. And so they kind of help to put me to sleep. But it's still relaxing. So when you are reading super fast like this, are you no longer into the relaxing mood, like it's more for accomplishment, or is it still okay to relax even though you're reading quickly?
It's a great question. It's more complex than you realize. It depends on why you're reading. Are you reading to pass a medical board the next day? Are you reading a newspaper to find out what happened today? Those are both reading. It's not the same chore.
Sure.
If the person relaxing with a novel did what someone studying for a med board did, they wouldn't enjoy the novel. If the person studying for the med board did what the novel reader did, they'd fail. So the question is, how much do you need to learn? How much time do you have to learn it? And as you'll see as we do the interview today, it's not just reading. Reading is not learning. It's very important. That's a big misconception people have. If
That's
reading was learning, everyone reading a book would get an A, and you know that doesn't happen.
I definitely
So,
know
Mike,
that.
I can tell you what learning actually is.
Yeah, go ahead.
Learning is knowing the meaning and significance of information and being able to use it when you need it. And we don't do it simply by reading. That's how the old programs worked, and they were very ineffective. The guy who owned Evelyn Woods was a very famous reading program. He hired me to train his son because I fixed the problem. Instead of just learning to read faster, which is not going to make you smarter, I combined reading with brain-based learning, with study skills, memory skills, and emotional intelligence skills. And by doing that, we use the reading to find what's important, and I teach them how to know what's important very quickly, how to use brain-based learning strategies for analyzing things that confuse you so you now know what they mean, how to use memory strategies to lock it in so you don't forget in 5 minutes, and then how to stay in the right state. And what I mean by that is if you get nervous taking a test, your performance is impaired. So how do you stay calm and focused when you're using the information, whether it's at a business meeting or in school? And so by covering all those bases and not just simply making it reading, it's more of a Swiss Army knife. It actually takes less time and gives much better results. And that's not something that's been done before in the past. The focus was on the speed. And to me, no one wants to read faster. What they want is to learn faster,
Yes.
understand better.
Totally agree.
So that was my focus. That's really what I'm looking at. So your question was a little more complicated. If you're just trying to relax with a few books to get an oversight or an insight, yeah, you can do that at night super fast. I'll give you a better example. I did a graduate course in educational psychology, which is a 5-month graduate course in 7 hours. And I took an AP test, which was 6 hours. In 50 minutes, I got a B+.
Wow.
I didn't do it it wasn't 5 minutes. I worked 7 hours. And I did all the things I just described for 7 hours. But I finished 5 months' work in 7 hours. So
Sure.
I still felt it was a big win. I didn't need an A. I needed a C. I was teaching, as I mentioned, and I needed the graduate credits to keep my teaching license active. So all I needed was a C. I got a B+. I knew what my goal was. I wasn't trying to master the subject. I was trying to pass the course.
Well, that's fair.
Graduate credits.
That's fair. I'll call that a win.
So it's not 5 minutes. It's not like I'm not like Edgar Casey. I don't put the book under my pillow at night and wake up knowing what's in it.
So was that 7 hours all in one sitting?
Yeah. I basically only had 7 hours to study.
Wow.
I was back then. We didn't have computer calendars. We used a day timer.
All right.
So when I looked at my day timer, I was like, "Oh God, my course is next week, and I haven't bought the book yet." So I went to the school. I bought the book. It was 400 pages, and then I looked at my schedule, and I only had 7 hours to study. And I had to do the whole program in 7 hours. So it wasn't by choice. That's the way it worked out. But fortunately, because of how I teach learning, I did it, and I did get a B+, which I thought was really good considering it was a 5-month program that I completed in 7 hours.
I like that. That's cool. So let me ask you this, because you have my full level of intrigue now, because I'm like, learning faster. That sounds awesome. I have a laundry list of stuff that I want to learn that I really realistically didn't think that I would ever get to. So what have you used this, we'll call this power, this talent, the skill set for yourself personally to learn that most other people would want to, but they just believe they wouldn't have the time? Like, did you learn French cooking or Spanish or something like that?
I'll give you a better one. When I was teaching and at school, I didn't want to be there anymore, and no one wanted to be there, not even the principal.
Sure.
And so I read 10 books on how to make a product and sell it on a radio show. Now, I was a biologist who studied psychology. I knew nothing about making programs, and I knew nothing about selling.
Sure.
But people who did it wrote books. Now, I don't think you learn from a book. One person may have gotten lucky but they didn't really do it the right way.
Sure.
10 people doing what you want to do successfully, that's a business plan. But most people would take months to read 10 books. It takes me 3 hours. There are 10 books on how to do shows and make products, and I sold 97 programs in 5 minutes on one show, and I sold 190 programs on another show in 50 minutes, and I made 6 months income as a teacher in less than a little over an hour.
Wow.
Time to move on. I'll give you another good example. About 10 years ago, my wife wanted to go to Hawaii, and I was teaching on cruise ships. I was teaching speed reading.
Sure.
So we got a cruise going all through Hawaii, but they don't want speed reading. I said, well, what do they want? They want you to teach Photoshop, video, and photography. So I tried to teach that. I didn't know anything about any. I didn't know how hard Photoshop was. I learned Word in 15 minutes. I figured how hard could Photoshop be. I didn't know it takes 4 years in college.
Yeah.
10 books on Photoshop, read them in 3 hours. I learned Photoshop. The next day I bought 10 books on photography, read it in 3 hours. I learned photography. The next day I bought 10 books on video. And again, in 3 hours I learned video. So I'm going to the cruise and I'm like, please let these people not know anything about cameras, video, or Photoshop, and I'm golden. So the first man walks into my room. Says, I've been a professional photographer 38 years, and he had to learn photography.
Aye.
Okay. The second guy comes in, he says, I'm using Photoshop for 5 years. I just started using it the week before. I heard you're an expert. I came to learn Photoshop. And my wife's in the front row crying because they said if I didn't do it, they'd throw us off the boat. Not in the water, but when we got to shore.
Sure.
So I taught these people for 1 week, and at the end of the week, I said, how many years did it take to learn that? That's what I love. I don't like reading. I like learning.
Sure.
Reading is like a screwdriver. I don't like, oh, God, I love my screwdriver. I like the things I can make with it.
Sure.
Reading is a tool.
The tool. I love it.
What you do with that tool. Yeah, reading isn't something I'm interested in. It's what I do with it that matters.
The results. That's fair. That's totally fair. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
So you got to tell me, it sounds like you have some tips for us or some tricks that you can throw it to us so that we can come a little bit closer to reading faster or to learning faster, I should say.
No, you will read faster. I will show you 20 to 40 40% faster today. I'll show you what to look for. I'll show you how to remember it and some other skills. Would that help?
It can't hurt, right?
Can't hurt. So first, how do you read faster? Well, after this interview, find a book, preferably nonfiction, because it has more structure.
Sure.
And read for 1 minute with a timer, the way you normally read, nothing different. And at the end of the minute, see how far you went and put a line in the margin. So you say, that's how far I read in a minute. Now you have a measurement. Now go to the second chapter. And now I'm going to show you the magic. Are you ready?
I'm ready. We're all ready.
You want to use your hand and move your hand one line at a time from the left to the right margin with your eyes following your hand continuously as quickly as you could comprehend. As long as you know what you're reading, go quicker till you don't. So you actually find that that's where it got too quick. And slow down just enough so your comprehension comes back. And for 5 minutes, move your eye continuously one line at a time, left to right, as quickly as you could comprehend and no faster. After you've done that, go back to the first chapter where you tested yourself. And this time use your hand as fast as you can comprehend. And you're going to go 20 to 40% further past the mark you did on the first try just doing that one change. It's that easy to get started.
Huh. So you're essentially just pointing to the words, kind of like we did as kids when we were in first grade or kindergarten, whatever?
Keeping your eye focused so it doesn't go back and look at things you saw already,
all right.
Jump around or get bored or distracted.
Sure.
You're keeping your focus and concentration on new material.
All right.
Continuing to scan. Now, would you like to know what to look for?
Totally.
There's only 5 things you need to learn. If you learn these 5 things, you'll be a master at any subject. Would you like to know what those 5 things are?
Absolutely.
The first of the 5 things is vocabulary.
Okay.
About 80% of learning a new subject is learning the words. And so we look for all the new words. The second thing you're looking for are names. Who's in your book and what did they do? Who's in your book and what did they do?
All right.
The third thing you look for is numbers, dates, statistics, or formula. What is it and how do you use it? The fourth thing you look for, especially in nonfiction, is that in each section and subsection, which has headers, what are the 5 big takeaways and 5 main concepts? And the last thing you look for are the questions and the answers. And there's a little extra. If you have a book that asks questions at the end, which is common in many textbooks, do that first. Before you read the chapter, read the questions at the end. So then you know what they expect you to know before you miss it. And then when you're reading, you're aware this is more important because they're asking me about it at the end. And since you don't know anything about this, and they wrote the book, and they're saying this is what I want you to know, you know what to look for.
Sure, all right.
Every word, if you know every word, every name, and what they did, every number, date, statistic, and formula, and how it's used, the main ideas in every section, and the answers to every question, you're golden. That's it. That's what you need to know. So now your brain, in fact, if you like, I'll do an experiment to show you how this works.
Sure.
I'd like you and our audience to look around them and look at everything colored blue. Everything colored blue, and memorize it. I'm going to do a mental quiz in a moment. Memorize all the blue things you see.
Sure.
Everything.
All right.
Perfect. Now close your eyes. Close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, I want you to remember everything you looked at colored red. You can open your eyes. And right away your brain goes, wait a minute, you didn't say red, you said blue. And something interesting happened. Blue things got bigger, louder, and more noticed. And red things got lower and more distant and dimmer.
Sure.
When you have a purpose, when you have a goal, the things that matter stick out. Like when you go to the mall at Christmas, which won't be that far down the road now.
No, I know it.
There's someone there, you wander through the mall, you don't know anyone, so you don't see them. And then suddenly you see a friend or a relative. To see the person you knew, you had to see all the other people, and your brain knew they weren't important, so it ignored them. But when the familiar face, the relevant face appeared, it made you aware of it, and you started to take an action. That same brain reads. When you have a purpose, the things that are identified with that purpose will pop off the page like the faces did in the crowd. So even though you're going quicker, it'll be easy to find what's relevant. And that's why we want to have those 5 goals.
Nice. I like this. That's clever.
Thank you.
So I believe
that's what we did with the kids. That's what they did. The kids that did the 30-chapter book in 1 week, they were looking for those 5 things.
Sure.
And that's what they studied. They studied those 5 things.
You know, it's interesting. I remember doing an experiment like that with an employee of mine because she was making some mistakes and stuff like this. And she's like, James, I want you to know that I'm very observant. And I told her, there's no way that you can possibly observe everything. You're going to observe what you're focusing on. And I did that same trick with her. And it's like, oh, okay. So it's kind of interesting having that conversation with someone. Because we always assume that because it's in front of us that we see it. But that's not always necessarily the case.
That's very true. Our brain does not see everything that's in front of us. It sees the things that are relevant at the moment.
Yeah,
it filters out.
Sure.
Yeah, filters out things that are superfluous, don't really affect us.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to ask you is, language has been around for almost ever, I suppose, or as long as we care to talk about. And people have been reading once they had that language.
Talking.
Yeah.
As long as people were talking, there was language.
So we've come up with words and languages and all this kind of stuff, and people have been reading, and there seems to be let's call it X speed, whatever it is that is typical for a reader, right? You're in a classroom and teacher says, okay, read this paragraph or whatever, and after, X number of seconds, the teacher expects everyone to have read that paragraph, right? So there's an assumed speed. But someone like you was like, I spent my 2 seconds reading that paragraph, so what's next? So at what point...
It's a page and a half a second.
A page and a half a second. That's almost tough to physically even turn a page in a second. That's cool.
But that's the first thing I teach is how to turn the page.
Wow. How do you got to tell me this now. Tell us, the listeners as well.
Okay.
How do you turn a page?
Take your right hand, you grab the corner of the right page.
Okay.
And you move your left hand back and forth and down on the left, back and forth and down on the right. Turn the page, grab the next corner. Back and forth and down, back and forth and down. Turn the page, grab the next corner. And that's basically the motion.
Holy cow.
You'll use. Now, most people aren't going to read at that speed. But I've gotten really good at it, which is why I have the world record. But a normal person will be able to read a page, I'm going to say 100% faster than they did before.
Wow. So you alluded to something there, because I wanted to ask you about that as well. The world's fastest reader, was that an actual test or some blue ribbon award, or how did you get that title?
I'm in the Guinness record book in 1990. It's the only year they did it, so I've never been replaced. And the way I got in, the typical record, you submit an article by a newspaper or a video from a television show to demonstrate your skill. I had 5 different newspapers in 5 different cities and 5 different news broadcasts in 5 different cities. I had 10 different media outlets that tested me, and they said there was no way that there would be 10 reporters in 10 different cities that were trying to make me look good.
Yeah.
They said, 1 maybe, not 10. So that's how I got in.
That is pretty cool. So you submitted saying, hey, look, no one can touch this. I got this down pat.
I had the most documentation of any of the records. Most of them only have a single source documenting them.
That is pretty cool. That is really cool. So you got to tell me, you mentioned something that I wanted to touch back on. You mentioned emotional intelligence, which about I want to say a decade ago really got some play, and now you don't hear about it very often, or at least I don't, which is kind of sad because I think it's really important. So can you elaborate on that and how that comes into play in success?
Well, what you would see was Daniel Goldman's book on emotional intelligence.
Yes.
It was a bestseller for many, many months.
Yeah,
and
good book.
He was correct. Let's go over a little of that. First, let's imagine I'm teaching you how to drive.
All right.
And you're ready to take the road test. I say, go make your appointment, take your test. You come back, I failed. Why did you fail? I got nervous. How many times do people learn a skill, but when they're examined, their state changes. They get tense or frightened or nervous. They can't think. Studies have shown that the state you're in when you learn has to match the state you're in when you perform, which is why the military and police and fire create very dangerous situations. They fire live ammunition, so you know to keep your head down when you're really getting shot at with live ammunition. If it was being taught in a classroom where you were drinking hot cocoa, you wouldn't remember what to do when they actually shot real bullets at you. But because you were absolutely terrified when they were training you, you were in a really dangerous situation. The state you're in when you're getting shot at will match it, and you'll retain and recall the information. So one of the things I can do, if you'd like, is to actually show you how to create a state, if that would help.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to show you in our audience how to wake up. A lot of times people work during the day and they go for classes in the evening. Maybe they have a license requirement that needs credits, or they're trying to enrich themselves, get a new degree, or they have a very late meeting, and you can't drink coffee because then you'll be up all night and you won't get any sleep. Would you like to see how to wake up instantly?
Yes.
Okay. For this particular exercise, I'd like everyone to stand. You could sit because you're at a microphone, but everyone else will get better results if you stand. And what we're going to do is stimulate our brain. Now, the left side of the brain controls which part of your body? Do you know?
The right side.
That's right. And the right side controls?
The left side.
That's great. So I want you to take your left hand and touch your right shoulder, and then your right hand and touch your left shoulder. Alternate. Sort of like the Macarena without the music.
Got it. All right.
Left. Perfect. Now, for those that are standing, Take your left hand, touch your right knee, and your right hand, touch your left knee. Sort of like an old Charleston. Left to right, right to left. Left to right, right to left. You'll notice if you're standing and doing this, you have to think a little more than you did with the shoulders, because one part of your brain's moving your knee and the other side's moving your hand. Now, raise your right hand over your head and make a fist with your thumb in your fist, and say this like you mean it, like you're feeling it. I feel great. Say it like you feel it. I feel great.
I feel great.
And grab your thumb and go down to your right side with passion and say, yes.
Yes.
And you have to feel it, because you can't create a state that isn't there. We're going to do 3 sets of these. When you're done, I'll show you how to use this to wake up on command. Are you ready?
Totally ready.
Let's start with the shoulder taps. We'll go left to right, right to left. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now the knee taps, left to right, right to left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Raise your right hand. How do you feel?
Tip top. I feel great.
Yes. Yes. And pull your hand down. Perfect. We're going to do another set, this time a little quicker.
All right.
First, the shoulder taps, left to right, right to left. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How do you feel?
I feel great.
Yes.
Yes.
And the last one is as fast as you can, all out. Watch your knees if you're near a table. All at once, as fast as you can. Right to left, shoulder taps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How do you feel?
I feel great. Yes.
Give yourselves a big hand. Sit down, smile, and feel great. Now, here's what happens. You know what happens when you do this 3 times?
You feel great.
Nothing. But you probably would like something. So let me show you to do that. Remember Pavlov?
Yeah.
Belly fed a dog. You rang a bell, he fed a dog.
Right.
You rang a bell, and eventually the dog drooled. You don't want to drool. You want to feel great. So instead of a bell, you're going, I feel great. Yes, that's your bell. You do this. The latest studies show habits take 90 days, not 30 days to create. So for 90 days, you go slow, medium, fast, shoulders, knees, shoulders, knees, shoulders, knees. I feel great, yes, I feel great, yes. Now after 90 days, now you're in an important meeting. You don't want to tap your shoulders, you'll look strange. But you grab your thumb and you say to yourself, I feel great, yes. And boom, you remember how you just felt, because you stimulated the left brain, the right brain, both together, and you went quicker and quicker, oxygenated your blood, woke up, felt more alert, and you anchored that to this I feel great, yes, the thumb.
Sure.
And now you can trigger it. If you're in traffic and you're getting tired and you need to wake up, you grab your thumb and go, I feel great, yes. If you're in a meeting or in a class or something that requires more energy, I feel great, yes. And you wake up. And the same way I could teach you to relax, to focus, to concentrate, even to elicit genius. Any state that can be created can be triggered doing it in this fashion. So that's what I teach my students, is how to create states they need to be successful at using the information they're learning when they need to use it. So they're not only learning the information, but creating the right state to successfully implement the information when it's needed.
Sure. That's cool. That's cool. It seems almost like a little bit of neuro-linguistic programming. Is that kind of what we're talking about there? Or similar?
Yes, it is. I have training in hypnosis and NLP.
Sure.
And so you're completely correct. And I strongly recommend all of our listeners take some time to learn more about NLP. Everyone who's successful in marketing that I know that's had mega success has studied NLP, because that's the thing that will ultimately create the success you're looking for in business.
Yeah.
In terms of marketing.
I love NLP.
Sales.
I love NLP. You raised an interesting phrase when you said elicit genius. Like, man, I've always worked on being happy and getting energized and all this kind of stuff, but I never once tried to elicit genius. All this time I've been working on this positive stuff.
Would you like to see how to create the state? I can help you create.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. if you have access to a paper and pen or a pencil.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and don't, you can do this in your imagination. I want you to draw a circle and put a dot in the middle. Just a circle with a dot in the middle.
All right.
Now there's three levels of learning. This is literal. Literal information is what you see. It's what's on the page. Implied information is information you're supposed to know that isn't given to you. Like if I said the woman wore a red dress, you know what a dress is and what a woman is.
Sure.
And what red is. I'm assuming you know that.
Mm-hmm.
The third level is inferential. This picture I just showed you is the meaning of life. Now we're going to go through the three levels of meaning. First, you're looking at just a circle with a dot in the middle. That's literally what you see, correct?
Correct.
How interesting is that, literally?
Not much.
Truthfully.
Yeah, not much unless I imagine something. Yeah.
A lot of books are the same thing. Lots of words.
Sure.
You memorize it, and you have no idea why you have to tell you got to learn this. You learn it. Why do I need to learn? Just do it.
Sure.
You don't know why you need to know it. You don't know how you're going to use it. It's just a bunch of words. You have no interest in learning it, but you have to. And that's what a lot of learning is like. It's very boring. Can we agree on that?
Absolutely.
Second level. This isn't just a picture. It's a symbol. It's the symbol of the sun. It's the symbol of the sun in astronomy and also astrology because the two disciplines had the same origin. So initially, all astronomers were astrologers. It's not true today, obviously, but that was the original way it worked. And in astrology, the sun represents the self. So I'm going to look at this symbol now on the third level. The point in the center is infinitesimally small. A point is infinitesimally small. Everywhere you look, there's an infinite number of points. You can't see any of them. So the point symbolizes spirit, like God. It's everywhere, fills everything, but it's invisible. So a point is a symbol of the spirit that fills all things and can't be seen anywhere. The circle is a symbol of a boundary. Inside the circle is the self. Outside the circle is everything that isn't the self. And what we see is every self at its center has this one thing, spirit. So everything looks different, seems different, but it's actually one thing at the center, or one thing that looks different. So it's an illusion. So basically everything is just one thing. And is that more interesting than it's a circle with a dot in the middle?
Infinitely so.
And that's genius. When you see things nobody else is seeing, I'll give a good example. Everybody saw a cell phone.
Sure.
There were a lot of cell phones. Steve Jobs said, why don't I make it into a small computer? And that makes phone calls. How well did that work out for him financially?
He was doing okay.
And then he said, I can make it bigger. I can make it like 8.5 by 11. I'll call it an iPad. How well did that work out?
Pretty well.
Everyone else saw a cell phone. He saw a mini computer. Another good example, there was a lot of interest in selling DVDs years back, and all these little shops sprung up around the country, and then a company called Blockbuster said, we can buy gazillion DVDs, open 1 million stores, and because we buy them so cheaply in bulk, we can undersell everyone and put them out of business and make a fortune. And that's what happened. All the little stores closed, and Blockbuster became the biggest outlet for DVDs in the world. They were everywhere. And then a company called Netflix says, we don't need stores. We can do this through the mail. And what happened to Blockbuster? It's bankrupt.
Yeah, they had a bad day.
Another company, bad day. Then a company came along called Redbox says, we don't need to mail them out. We can put them on corner stores everywhere. And the only reason Netflix is still in business is their business model shifted from DVDs to online streaming.
Yeah.
They became a leader in online streaming. Otherwise, they would have done what Blockbuster did.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we learned from that is every time a new paradigm comes along, every time someone has a new way of doing the old thing, the people who did the old way are in trouble. And they often run into a situation where they lose business. I'll give you a very good example. The richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, did something that was hundreds of years old. He looked at the Sears catalog. He looked at the J.C. Penney catalog and said, I could put that online. Sears and J.C. Penney are on the verge of bankruptcy. They had the catalog for over 100 years.
Yeah, long
They
time.
never thought about putting it online. They had the products, they had the services, they had everything except Bezos saw it and put it online. He made it a 21st century catalog.
Mm-hmm.
He's the richest man in the world. They're going bankrupt. They had the business model. He saw how to use it in the new setting. That's what business is about. And how do you do that? You learn to read faster, understand better, so you can stay ahead of the competition. That's it. Either that or they're going to go ahead of you, and you're going to be the next blockbuster.
Sure.
You cannot count on today's success tomorrow. There's
Agreed.
no way you can do that.
Totally agreed.
And that's why reading is important, because reading is a very quick way for absorbing data that can help you stay ahead of the competition.
That's true. That's very true. That's good advice. Now, Howard, you had talked to us, or distinguished, I should say, between reading and learning. So can you, like learning, we're talking about the fact that you can recall facts. Somebody tests you and you know the answer, not because you read it, because you retained it. So can you talk about different ways for retaining and recalling facts in a usable format?
Retaining and recalling. Because a lot of people can recall, but they don't know what they're saying.
Yes.
So you could, if I said, who discovered America in 1492? You'd say Columbus. Great. We would never do that in my school. We would say, what was the impact of his discovery on the indigenous tribes, on the economics of Europe, which started the globalization, where they came here and took over property? What was the impact on the religious view that the world was flat? I mean, there's so many things that impact it. It's not enough to know the name of someone.
Sure.
Without knowing the significance.
The results, sure.
So a lot of people will study and they'll memorize a lot of words, and then they fail and they don't know why they failed. They didn't understand anything. They only knew words, but they didn't know how to use it or apply it.
Okay, that's fair.
So I will show you how to remember, but it's not the only thing, okay? I'm going to give you 10 things to remember. I won't show you how. That's our control group. Then I'll show you how, and you and our audience will see memorize 10 things super fast. And when you're done, I'm going to show you this isn't just an exercise. It's a tool, and I'll show you how to use it. Will that work for you?
Absolutely.
Here's 10 things to remember. I don't think you will be able to right now. Pole, shoes, tricycle, car, glove, gun, dice, skate, cat, and bowling pins. Is it safe to say you don't know all 10 things backwards and forwards effortlessly at this point?
That's totally safe to say. That was a random mix.
You'll learn all 10 backwards, forwards, inside out in just 3 minutes time effortlessly. Are you ready?
Yes.
The Greeks discovered a shortcut to learning a list thousands of years ago. Take a list you know and link it to the list you want to know. It takes less time. I'm going to bet that you and our audience can count to 10. I think I'm on safe ground here, am I?
Very safe ground. I will speak for them and say that.
Okay. So we're going to use those 10 numbers to learn 10 things super fast. Are you ready?
Yes.
The number 1 looks like a pole, a big tall pole, or a big tall lamp pole. It looks like a flag pole. It looks like a 1, correct?
Correct.
When I say 1, you say pole. 1.
Pole.
And it's important to say, you only remember 10% of what you read, 90% of what you say and do. Let's go to 2. How many shoes do you wear?
2.
So what's 2?
Shoes.
1.
Pole.
Perfect. 3 is a tricycle. How many wheels are on a tricycle?
3.
What's 3?
Tricycle.
2.
Shoes.
1.
Pole.
Perfect. 4 is a car. How many tires on a car?
4.
What's 4?
Car.
2. Go to 2.
Is shoes.
1.
Pole.
3.
Tricycle.
I'm jumping on purpose. You're not memorizing, you're associating.
Right.
5 is a glove. Thank you. 5 is a glove. How many fingers in a glove?
5.
What's 5?
Glove.
What's 3?
Tricycle.
1.
Pole.
Getting smarter. 6 gun. They love them in Texas where I live. 6 gun. What's 6?
Gun.
4.
Car.
2.
Shoes.
Perfect. 7 is lucky in dice. At least on the first throw, 7 is dice. What's 7?
Dice.
What was 5? Think of your hand.
Glove.
3.
Tricycle.
1.
Pole.
We're almost done. Rhymes were, say 8 skate.
8 skate. Okay.
What's 8?
Skate.
Perfect. 6 was, where they live in Texas?
6 gun.
4.
Car.
2.
Shoes.
9. How many lives does a cat have?
9.
What's 9?
Cat.
7 is lucky in.
Dice.
5.
Was glove.
3.
Tricycle.
1.
Pole.
Last one. 10. How many bowling pins in a lane?
10.
10 bowling pins. What's 10?
Bowling pin.
Let's do our list that you couldn't do. 1.
Pole.
2.
Shoes.
3.
Tricycle.
4.
Car.
5.
Glove.
6. Texas. What are they allowed?
Gun.
7 is lucky in.
Dice.
8 rhymes with.
Oh, I forgot 8. 8
Rhymes with.
rhymes with skate. I'm sorry. Yep.
There you go. That's fine. That's how the brain learns. That's how you learn. When you made the activity to recall it, that's how you're reinforcing it.
Sure. That's
9.
awesome.
9 is what?
Cat.
And 10.
Bowling pin.
How does it make you feel?
Smarter. Eliciting genius here.
Great. When you're going great, then it's stronger. Now, here's how to use it. This is actually a way to speed memorize numbers. Imagine you go on a trip and your hotel is 314. You know, you always forget your hotel rooms because after a while they all look the same.
Yeah.
3 is a tricycle, 1 is a pole, 4 is a car. We'll use the pictures to learn the numbers. Picture this, a tricycle hits a pole on a car. Can you see that?
Yeah.
A tricycle hits a pole on a car. Tricycle, what number?
3.
It's a pole.
1.
On a car.
4.
That's your room number. It's also the value of pi in geometry, 3.14.
Yeah, that's where my brain went.
So kids can use it for science and math and history. You can use it in business for due dates, percentages, phone numbers, room numbers in hotels. You just learned how to speed memorize numbers.
That's cool. That's cool. I like
That's
that.
what I teach. That's what I do.
Nice.
Some more free lessons. If people want to go to berglearning.com, there's some free lessons that they can try on my website. And if they would like, there's a coupon they can put in, which is your last name, Kate Caveman 10. And that's just an option. But there are some free lessons at Berg Learning, BERG learning.com, if they want to check out some of the additional lessons in addition to some of what we did today.
That's super cool. So Berg Learning is BERGLEARNING.com.
And your last name with the number 10 if they decide they want to use.
Super cool. That's Kademan 10 for the people that don't know. KADEMAN 10. Is that correct?
Yeah.
10. Super cool. So Howard, what is your favorite part about running this business for the past 30 some years?
Making a better world. If you read the news, you feel there's too many smart people making too many good decisions. And I'm not going to point any fingers at anyone. But if you read the news, in the world in general even, do you feel there's just too many smart people making too many good choices?
That is not what I feel.
No, I've never heard that as a problem. I feel like I can make a difference. I can't solve every problem.
Sure.
I had a 19-year-old pass the bar in California. Another one had a master's degree in math at 19. Another one was able to do 4-year college in 6 months. using what I'm teaching. And so I'm looking at that and I'm saying, I found something that can really empower people to become the best they can be at whatever it is they do.
Sure.
Whether it's business or law or medicine or just having a job, they can improve themselves. And if enough people do this, we'll find answers to some of the problems nobody seems to be able to answer. So I can't fix all the problems, but I can help the people who can do it learn the information they need to accomplish it. And I feel that's my mission.
That's fair.
I was a yogi when I didn't talk about this. When I got out of college, I became a yogi. I was interested in consciousness, and I started meditating and doing all 7 schools of yoga.
Sure.
And I'm not in an ashram anymore, but it rubbed off on me. I feel like we all have a responsibility to try to make the world a better place.
Agreed.
And I feel what I do is a gift, and a gift is only good if you use it. And it isn't going to help you if I read faster. But if you read faster, and all of our audience reads faster, and their kids read faster, and their friends read faster, and they understand better, and they know how to connect the dots, and they know how to innovate and find solutions, together we can all make a big difference. We have global problems. We're going to have to solve them as a group. You know, a lot of people think competition is good. That isn't what made us successful. What made us successful was cooperation.
Sure.
One person could not take down a mastodon. A tribe could. We face challenges today as a species that it's going to take everyone to fix. And so my job is to give everyone this opportunity to learn and use information faster and better. And as a result, we'll find those solutions. We'll fix some of the problems that are threatening our existence as a species and go forward in a more positive, constructive world. That's what gets me excited. To me, that's more important than me doing it. It doesn't do anything if I do it. It only matters if you do it and others do it.
That is going to be one of the coolest answers to that question that I have heard. That is safe. That is safe. I like that. That's super cool.
I really feel that way. I'm a grandparent. I'm concerned about the future for my children, my grandchildren, their children. Right now, it doesn't look very good. I mean, if you really read the news, it doesn't look good.
I agree.
It doesn't have to be that way. If people made the problems, people can fix the problems. They just have to find new ways of doing it. And that's what I'm trying to do. I can't find all the solutions and read every book, but I can help each person to read the books they need to be able to do their part in finding solutions. That's really my goal.
A smarter world is a better world. I like it. I like it. That's super cool. Howard, I appreciate you coming on the show today.
I appreciate it. Maybe we'll come back some other time and we'll talk a little about writing and writer's block and creativity. You can do that.
I feel like you got a couple dozen more shows in you. You got some mad skills here.
Honestly, yes, I actually could teach you the meaning of life and show you the secret of creation.
Oh, now you tell us that.
I've read over 30,000 books.
Holy cow.
And you learn something. You know,
Sure.
I'm looking for solutions. I've seen some things. It's not that the information is hidden as much as it's spread out. And it's a needle in a haystack kind of a scenario.
Sure.
Well, I found a lot of the needles. And when you put those needles together in the right pattern, some amazing things can be seen.
I love it. That is cool. That's cool. Howard, thanks for being on the show. This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land, coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. If you're listening to this on the web, please like, subscribe, and share. My name is James Kademan, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering and receptionist services for small businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com, as well as Draw In Customers Business Coaching, offering business coaching services for entrepreneurs in all stages of their business on the web at drawincustomers.com. And of course, The Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur in all of us, available on Amazon and wherever fine books are sold. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Howard Berg, the world's fastest reader. Howard, that website again.
Berglearning.com. and Caterman10 is the coupon if they want to use it.
Berg Learning, BERGLEARNING.com, and Caterman10, KADEMAN10. Find us airing on 103.5 Wednesdays at 1 p.m., Sundays at 2 p.m., as well as at sunprairiemediacenter.com. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night at the podcast link, found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.